Do not adjust your radio dial. You are tuned in to the Mark Order Podcast. Join the Mark Order.
Hello. It is Wednesday night, and it is weird tonight because it is just myself, Ryan, and Asian Joe. We are the ones covering for the Mark Order Podcast. I did that totally out of line. I didn't want to do Ant's normal intro, so I did my own, and I screwed it up. But again, Mark Order Podcast minus a couple members. Me, Ryan, Asian Joe. How you doing tonight, Joe?
I'm good. It's like we have the sex gods of the Mark Order Podcast tonight.
I'm glad someone said it. I didn't want to be the only one to, think that.
Yeah. So I think if we're gonna have 2 out of the 4 of us, I think we have the right 2.
Yeah, or we're like back in the day, Johnny Ace and whoever his partner was, 2 dudes with attitude.
Ooh, which one you want to be?
We're both. We're both. 2 like sex guys with attitudes, but it doesn't rhyme.
Oh, we'll workshop that.
Rob, we weren't on Arthur Ashe because we weren't invited.
We're the newest members of the Mark Order, so we're still like in that probational period. I was invited previous years, but this year they really wanted to show who's boss, and they didn't have me go. It's very annoying. What was that? We're here working for the people. Yeah, we're here for you guys. I'm not where those other schmucks are watching Rampage, 2 hours of Rampage. Good for them. So that being said, like I said, it's a little different tonight. There's only 2 of us, but we are covering. If you've been listening to us from the beginning, thank you. But also, you probably knew most years we do our Grand Slam show the night day after. But this year we decided, since 2 of us are around, we actually wouldn't just be me. Apparently, I can't be trusted just to run it on my own, bastards. That we'll do 2 of us. So that's what's going to be tonight. So besides Grand Slam, how are things going, Joe? No complaints over here. It's not 100-degree weather anymore. So I'm not, being a bigger guy, I'm not sweating for no apparent reason. So I will take that as a win. What is the temperature out where you are? Low 80s right now for a high. That's nice. We are. What we did that? I think we were in the low 80s too. Okay. I'm in usually a place that runs warmer than you, so it can't be too bad. So I have a question for you, Ryan. Since you asked me how I was doing, I want to know how your neck is doing. My neck is perfect. I'm smart. I don't fight people. Okay. How's your neck? I care about your neck, so I just want to make sure it's staying healthy and strong. It's very healthy, very strong. How's your neck? A little stiff. It needs to probably be popped or cracked a little bit, but otherwise I'm okay. Yeah, there you go. Our necks are good. We're 2 strong-necked guys. I think Kate broke hers tonight. We're not going to talk about that. She was walking down the stairs with her chicken tenders, having just missed the women's match, and she tripped 1 foot over another and just kept rolling down the stairs. After that first opening match, though, I think it was all downhill from there for her. I really do hope she cried. I do. I hope she recorded it too, or someone did. That's more what I hope. I just find the idea that she cried really funny to me for some reason. So I hope that she recorded it. So that we're doing good. It's weird. I know we usually BS a lot around this time, but just when there's just 2 of us, it's much harder. On the plus side, for those people watching and listening, it'll be a shorter episode probably. Oh, I can guarantee that. If you go listen, we're missing some of our big talkers. So, we're gonna have to probably stretch even at points, which is just weird to me because we never had to do that. We'll really plug buying t-shirts. We'll do that a couple times maybe. And subscribing to our YouTube, please just do it. Yes, that too. So we're gonna start out. We'll have to get to this at the end, but he says,
Kyle K. Sparks saying, "Hey, all, fun episode tonight. Hoping Eddie's title win means some energy and focus for ROH. I know we're out of order, but I don't care. This is what you get with me."
The captain's running the show. All right.
I don't think his win, if ROH gets energy and focus, it has nothing to do with Eddie's win.
No.
They just refuse to give that product focus. They refuse to give it time. I saw a tweet tonight. I don't know who did it, so I'm sorry if someone who listens, I can't quote you, but I don't think it probably is. Basically, what's the point of an Honor Club if all the big ROH matches are on AEW TV? And that's the truth.
That's fair. That's fair. It very much feels like Dark again, or maybe a little bit elevated, but not much.
I agree. And I love Dark, but like that's not what ROH was supposed to be.
Mm-hmm.
Dark was free on YouTube, and it was kind of like a little bit more fun in the sense of like just messing around. And this is supposed to be like people shot, and Dark didn't take like there were real ROH wrestlers, guys who wrestled there before it got bought and who could be extremely useful right now, who aren't being given the time. It's like Dark didn't have that, so I don't feel as bad. But ROH could use, some of those guys that were regulars before, or even who are still here that they're finally giving Shane Taylor some real time. But for a while, what was he doing? Like he was huge in ROH. So again, I don't think Eddie's win has any. If they give it time, it's because what's his name? Tony Khan finally decided, like, hey, this is a problem. We should be, I don't know, giving time to our product that I bought and spent money on. But we'll see. Apparently it's 80 hours a week.
I feel bad for the people who really love ROH, like Kyle K. Sparks and other people who are diehards. And it's like watching something from your childhood get rebooted or remade, and it's just not quite as good. Like, like The Karate Kid or something like that, where it's like, you have this memory of how it was, and then when they bring it back, it just, I don't want to say bastardizes it, but it really waters it down.
It's the Michael Bay Ninja Turtles. It's the Ghostbusters remake. It's a couple things. Yeah. The question is though, Joe, how many hours a week do you put in for work?
It fluctuates. Being salary, you kind of work as needed sometimes.
Do you do 80 though?
No.
So you're not as good as Tony Khan?
No, I do. I'm not as good as Tony Khan.
I do at least 81 hours, so I'm 1 hour better than him.
Yeah, he has millions and billions of dollars, and you have
millions and millions of dollars. Thank you.
Okay. Just want to make sure that correlates.
Yeah, it does. Clearly. And I may define. Hold on. I will go with the Sloan and Mike talking about the Star Wars prequels or new sequels. I'll go with the new sequels. I will defend the prequels.
That's for another podcast.
Yeah, that I could go. Part of me wants to do it just to piss off Kate and Ant if they listen back, but I could go forever talking about the issues there and the good things and the bad things. But
that sounds like some good bonus content if people subscribe to the YouTube channel enough, and we had bonus content episodes we could upload.
That kid was garbage. I again can't do it here. I could go on forever.
Yes,
that's not a bad idea, Joe. If we get enough subscribers to YouTube, we want to hit a 500 number. If we get at least 500, I promise I'll do a podcast with whoever wants to do it with me where I give all my ridiculously dorky Star Wars opinions. And we'll do any top. If we hit the 500, I will make other people do dorky one-off podcasts too.
And when you say dorky opinions, you mean like really bad takes about Star Wars?
No, my takes are excellent.
I think most of people disagree with you, but okay.
Well, they're wrong.
Okay.
Listen, I have...
Keep listening to the man in the mirror, whatever that person tells you.
I have debated this many times. I am a prequel apologist because at least there's logic. And I want to love Star Wars. But I want to love Star Wars, so I make myself love this. But there's logic to those. I hate the sequels. I will accept that.
I did watch Ahsoka before Dynamite tonight, so
I'm not. I am saving it till it's all out.
okay.
Mainly because it's just, I know what's going to happen to me. I'm going to want to stream. Like, I'm just going to want to dedicate a day. So I'm doing it the way I can. But that's enough of my nerdiness. I guess technically we should start with Rampage. Did you watch Rampage?
I did.
How did you like it?
It wasn't bad. I don't know if you want to go over some of the matches or not.
We will, but just was getting your overall feelings on it.
You know, it wasn't a Rampage of recent where they've been kind of almost to the level of bangers, but it felt very much like a classic Rampage, I guess.
I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, though.
It was a thing.
Was a thing. Which is true. You're 100% right. It was the Rampage going into a big event like Grand Slam.
I mean, there's one highlight of Rampage. One major highlight that was the news cycle, helped the news cycle for the weekend of wrestling.
It wasn't really the highlight of Rampage that held the news cycle. It was Rampage adjacent.
Adjacent or adjacent?
Oh, see, Kate's not here. Someone's got to help me. I can't be the only fun maker. We'll quickly go down and just go over the results and say if anyone likes it. So you had the Lucha Brothers and the Hardys versus the Butcher, the Blade, Jeff Jarrett, and Jay Lethal, and the Hardys and Lucha Brother win. No real shocks with that one. The only thing of note for this match, in my opinion, is that afterwards the Righteous came down. The parties get knocked out by Satnam Singh. They're kind of laying on the ramp, and the Righteous come out. Now, that is interesting.
I thought the Lucha Brothers really carried the match for me, because the rest of it was just kind of whatever, a lot of shenanigans. The Penta versus Double J, that's something I didn't have on my bingo card of things to see this year. But
there's a reason, though.
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't something I needed to see, and I'm not a Double J hater. Just this was a very typical Rampage match. And this is Rampage when it settled into its Sunday night heat form. This is what it was. And again, but the Righteous coming out to the Hardys after just is interesting because it really means they are really looking to do something with the Righteous in AEW and not have them go back down to ROH, which is awesome because I love the Righteous, but a little surprising because I really thought they'd be a staple of ROH. But once again, what is ROH? So it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, at least, since the Kingdom moved up to AEW, they get a lot of time. They're involved in a major storyline. So, if you're gonna waste the talent down ROH, you might as well bring them up and use them for something and tell a story on Dynamite or Rampage or Collision.
That's true. It's just a shame because ROH could use some. But you know what? No, I'm not actually with you. Bring up the Righteous. Bring up the Kingdom. Bring in new teams for ROH to new young teams to build up ROH. The Righteous and the Kingdom belong in AEW. They have the talent and the skill. So I think that works. The tag division's looking stacked again. So the more teams, the better. But we'll see. They haven't been great about consistency on that. Then we have, speaking of the Kingdom, we have the Kingdom versus Matt Sydal and Christopher Daniels, and the Kingdom win, which is, I don't think, a shock because they're clearly building them up as part of this Roddy Neck story. It was a decent match. I mean, Sydal and Christopher Daniels can still put on a good show. They've been kind of teaming up in ROH. So they're not as random of a team as people thought, and it's all right. Any thoughts, or do you want me to move on?
No, I thought it was a really good match based on just there's so much experience in the ring on both sides of the team. Both teams have so much years of experience that it was a solid match between them.
We have a check-in from Dad. Ant is checking in from 17 of Grand Slam Rampage. Oh, we're good. No, we're terrible.
Yeah, we didn't get the money. Where was the pizza money?
Yeah, what the hell, man? Kate stealed it.
We got it last week.
Well, that's because I took it from his wallet. He hid his wallet this week, so that's part of the problem. So then we have which mostly is the the Acclaimed beat. What do I want to call this team? They're pretty Outriders. It was the Outriders with Peter Avalon. And Peter Avalon's amazing, so he deserves acknowledgement. But it was a squash match otherwise. But, and I think this is important, as the Dark Order comes out to taunt or mess with the Acclaimed, and I think that's relevant because clearly they're still pushing the Dark Order up, which I love. They deserve it. They for too long they were the jokes of AEW and their feud with the Righteous in ROH, and the stuff with Hangman has reestablished them in a way that was much needed. So I don't know if you have any thoughts on it, but I just want to bring it up. That was notable.
Yeah, I like the Dark Order being kind of this almost delusional of like, they're kind of the heel, but they think they've been underserved and they're justified for all they're doing. I think that always makes a really good heel story because when they believe they're right, it's great. The other thing I enjoyed about this was John Silver quoting some of Taylor Swift's lyrics in Ming. I don't know if you caught that, Brian.
What lyric? I don't know Taylor Swift lyrics.
Oh, it's just about how he was calling them mean, being pathetic, and a loser. I'm sorry. I guess I know Taylor Swift lyrics, I suppose.
And we have confirmation from Ant that Kate did cry. So good.
Ooh.
Hopefully you got it recorded.
Yeah, I'm going to say pics or video. It didn't happen. The only thing I had wrong with that trio match was that I would have preferred one of the Outrunners take the pin instead of Pretty Peter.
Yeah, me too.
He's a little bit more established. Like, let one of the.
Plus, he's so pretty.
He really is. So
I don't know. We'll see. But then we have and then there was an Aussie Open squash match, which I don't think really merits discussion. But then we have the match of the night, and like you said, it was the news story of the weekend. You had Chris Statlander versus Jade Cargill in a rematch for the title. This time a little different because they're both straight up. No one's after, just having a match. And after what was actually a pretty good match, like a little surprisingly good, and had some good time to it, Chris Statlander pulled out the win. The only thing is, on Wednesday night after Dynamite, news broke that Jade Cargill was going to be leaving AEW for WWE per Fightful Select, and it seems to have been confirmed all over the place from there on. So this match lost a little bit of its luster because people were like, well, if she's leaving, we know who's winning. I'm glad she went out losing, and that's not an insult to her. Just it helped Chris Statlander. She got a clean win over Jade. But also, at the same point, it's also weird that they had her come back. Like, it's just a weird thing.
I think it's one of those unspoken rules of like just doing business, right? You come back, and if you're on your way out the door, you drop the title or you help put someone over clean. So I get that part. It's too bad because I think a lot of people were excited for the women's division to hopefully ramp back up with her coming back.
They were, I will say, so this is the place for this discussion because there's no other real place in it. How you feel about Jade leaving and going to WWE? What are your thoughts on
that? It's the best thing for her because I feel like she will be maximized more in the WWE, I believe, than she will be in AEW. I feel like WWE highlights women better, obviously. I think looking at NXT, look at Raw, look at SmackDown. Well, maybe not SmackDown, but NXT and Raw for sure. Like, you look at some of the main events they've had with women's matches a lot of times. There's a lot of storylines with different women going on. So I feel like she can really grow and shine in WWE probably more than she could have in AEW. But
it's a weird situation because in one respect, I completely agree. She's got a lot of room in WWE. I mean, let's just face it, ignoring the problems AEW's had with their women's division, because WWE's had their own. There just is more room. They have 3 products on TV. They tend to put on more matches. So it is what it is. That being said, what also benefits Jade is whether she wrestles at NXT or not, she can go down there and get some more training, which she needs. Like, she
still isn't the best in the ring. And AEW is so ring heavy that it was always to her detriment that her matches were always like a minute, 2 minutes, because she was she caught on with fans even with that. And that's in a company where realistically your time to catch on with fans is to put on like 10-minute matches. However,
sorry, I was gonna say it's almost too bad that one of her best matches was her final match in AEW.
Seriously, 100%. The counter to that is, if they don't put her in NXT, if they have her go right to the main roster, which would seem in some respects makes sense and some doesn't, she runs the risk of being exposed. Because everybody's like, "Well, put her against Bianca." If you're gonna put her in the main roster, you put her against someone like Natty, someone who's gonna break her in the because that's not, she's got to be broken in the WWE style. So if you put her against one of these women who can talk and can wrestle at the same time, it runs the risk. I think overall she's going to be a huge star there. I don't think that she's going to fail. I just think early on there could be some bumps. She also benefited that AEW kind of put her on her own island, and she clearly won't have that in WWE. She will, the way the women's are booked in WWE, you don't want to be on your own island. You want to be in the mix if you're. So my hope for her, she goes to NXT and does a short program down there just to kind of be like, look, I got a couple weeks in learning their style, and now I am what you want me to be. Because I think if she goes right to me, you run the risk. But that's just, I mean, who am I? I don't know how good. Maybe she's much better than she's been able to show because of the time of her matches, which is always a thing. She could have just been the victim of never being able to get in a good flow because they never gave her enough to do it. So I don't want to completely discredit her, because that's a very big possibility. But that was the big news, and people think it's a big loss, and I do think it's a big loss for AEW. I'm not going to pretend it's not. She had major crossover appeal, and she was so recognizable, and she was a superstar. At the same time, it's not going to kill the women's division there.
Well, no, especially if they get Mercedes for even for a short-term deal. That will help soften that blow quite largely if Mercedes comes in and wrestles a few matches.
Yeah, that exactly. You run the chance of Mercedes counteracts anything to do what with Jade. Like, no one's gonna be thinking about Jade if Mercedes is walking in. Now Kyle brings up a good point that a lot of people have said, that it sounds like she's on the main roster. They're better at path to acting roles and becoming a true multimedia star. 100% true. WWE is much better at getting its crossover people, and she wants that. She's very clear that that's what she wants. So good for her. I mean, she deserves it. So if she can get it, so that is the better path for her. It sucks for AEW to lose a star that they built, but that's the path for her.
Yeah,
it's kind of funny that she's a ground up star from AEW, maybe going to WWE.
But it's so early still in her career that she could go there for 3 to 5 years and still wind up back in AEW at some point. So
that's true. That's true. So that was our Rampage, a Rampage. Again, I kind of run a little quicker than Ant, so I apologize. I was like, what the hell? How are you already moving to Collision? It's what we do. It's what I do. Now I'm gonna be honest. I watched Collision on a quick replay because I was not available to watch it live. Did you watch it live?
I did, and I went back and watched the opening tag match again too as well. I just wanted to make sure I didn't miss anything.
Did you miss anything?
I initially didn't see the spot of Ricky doing his pose during the swing, like in the match. But then when I saw him, I went back and watched it after I saw everyone post about it. So that's next level stuff there by him.
I mean, from what I had to kind of watch it at like double speed to fit into my my life schedule at that point. But from what I saw the main event in real time. Everything else I didn't. So, but from what I gathered, it was a really good show.
Yeah, starting with the tag match with the BCC and Starks and Big Bill, I really like the fact that it's making Big Bill feel more of a threat than he has ever before so far in AEW. Like he's not. I didn't feel like he's just playing second fiddle to starts. He's actually he's not just the hero of some group. He's actually a prominent figure. So I'm hoping maybe they can turn that into something more down the road once him and Starks split. But
yeah, they're doing a good job of having him feel like a really dominant big man, but also like letting him wrestle. Because unfortunately, the other really big guy they have has been Satnam Singh, and he just clearly is not at that level. I know Wardlow, Hobbs are big, but they're not Big Bill big, like height-wise. Big Bill's a tall man. So
I've heard he's 7
they're
foot
making
tall, and he can't teach it. So
I think he can, really. I think, we just haven't found the right lessons, but I'm pretty sure he can. But he is let me tell you something. He may be still 7 foot tall, and he may have been 7 foot tall 8 years ago. He wasn't this jacked 8 years ago.
No, he looks like a star when he's that big and that just lean and cut.
Yeah, and teaming him up with Ricky is perfect. I said it last week. It kind of reminds me of Shawn Michaels and Diesel, where you have your big heavy because Diesel had charisma, he had everything, and so does Big Bill, and your small guy who's just gonna get you in a lot of fights, and that's fun. I was kind of shocked rewatching this match. Watching this match, I should say. It is so the way they're flipping the BCC to face now. And they were so face in this match, and they lost kind of by cheating, if I'm not wrong. Just kind of weird. Like, it was a weird, like, hey, you've been healed for the last 6 months. Nothing's changed, but you're facing this match.
Yeah, it's a match by match scenario sometimes, I think. So, but yeah, they lost with a low blow, and Starks got the pin over Bryan to help advance that story to Collision this week.
And low blow is the most dangerous move in all of wrestling. I know some people believe it's the schoolboy. I think it's the low blow.
Not for a female wrestler.
Somehow, I think even with them, they always fall to it. I don't understand it, but
they sell it.
That's what I'm saying. Like,
they sell the low blow to the clam basket, and it's I don't know.
Yeah.
It must hurt.
Whereas the AM bag just takes it, to a different level. But it is the most dangerous move in all wrestling. I don't care what anyone says to me. So that was a good way to open the match. Trying to think if there's no real details on that. And then we set up, we had the match that was set up the previous week of FTR and the Iron Savages. I wanted to say Bear Country, but I know better.
I like the Bear Country gimmick better, to be honest with you. I don't understand the Iron Savage gimmick as much. It seems a little too like small indie gimmick for me. But
that's true. I wasn't thrilled with this match, to be quite honest. It was quick, and I kind of was hoping for more with Bear Country. I mean, Iron Savages. I think they deserve more. They've been doing well, and I don't think this match did them justice. I think they had a lot more in the tank from what I've seen in them in ROH and all that. I'm glad they got time on TV against FTR, but I just kind of wanted more.
Yeah, it felt kind of like a random one-off, because it's almost like these open challenges that FTR is doing this week, and then the Workhorsemen later this coming week. But I really thought Boulder's moonsault was impressive for a guy that big.
Which one's he?
The bigger one,
okay.
Not Bronson.
It's so hard. That's the one thing I can never keep straight.
Not Dirty Bolt Bronson.
Yeah, I can. I don't remember seeing him. They didn't have what's his name about the Jack Jameson. What's his name? He wasn't out there with him, right?
I think he was. I thought he was.
I couldn't remember. My brain's fried. And like I said, I saw this in like double speed because I was.
Oh, that really must have been a short match then for you.
Yeah, it really was. I actually was like, wait, did I up it? And I was like, nope, this is just how short of a match it was. So then we move on to John Silver versus Anthony Bowens. Was kind of surprised by the outcome, but then not really based on how they're building up the Dark Order. And if you had them lose here,
you haven't really changed a lot for them, and they needed, they need to build the Dark Order back up as legitimate contenders since they broke them down for so long.
Hmm.
So I enjoyed the match. Oh, apparently Jack Jameson was out there. He took a shatter machine before the match started for Kyle Sparks. There you go. When you're watching two speed, you can miss things.
Kyle K.
Yeah.
Sparks, the official fact finder of the Mark Order podcast.
There you go. So what do you think of this singles match between the Dark Order's John Silver and the Acclaimed's Anthony Bowens?
It was a good match between two, I think not evenly, but evenly experienced wrestlers. I thought I was a little confused of the switch of why they switched from Uno to Silver, which they initially promoted it as Uno versus Bowens, and then they later switched it, at the beginning of the show. But yeah, I think Evil Uno with some shenanigans at the end, living up to his name, to his moniker, it kind of helps to further the Dark Order story of being kind of, these little heels that are climbing the ranks of the trios and the tag titles. So,
If I'm not mistaken, they switched to Silver as like the Dark Order being sneaky and getting one over. I think that was the thought there.
yeah.
That they, Uno would, you have still Bowens preparing for Uno. I'm gonna, get him, and then all of a sudden he's got to fight Silver. And it's like, oh, you didn't prepare for this guy, which in wrestling isn't as important.
Mhm.
I know in UFC, like that's a big deal. That when you have a last minute opponent, you haven't prepared for style. And wrestling never seems to be a big deal. But I get the theory.
Yeah.
I don't know if there was a real reason or they were just trying to get the storyline over.
Yeah, it just seemed weird because at the end of Dynamite or whatever, they promoted the match, had the graphic of Uno versus Bowens with with Excalibur mentioning it, and then on Collision, like, nope, sorry, it's not going to be him. It's going to be me because you didn't read the contract.
He may. And then you have Silver might have said the funniest thing, and I've heard in a long time. I Googled scissoring, and you guys are doing it wrong. So he speaks the truth. I've Googled it too. Make sure your safe search is on if you don't want to be in trouble.
Did it have images with it? Or did it just describe it verbatim of like...
Pens against safe search comes into play. It's a whole thing.
Okay.
But I'm sure you could find it if you really want to look.
Well, I thought scissoring happens when like a left-handed pair of scissors falls in love with a right-handed pair of scissors and they come together. Is that not scissoring?
I think it's a version, but I don't think that's what made scissoring famous.
I don't know.
There's a whole South Park episode about it. You should watch it.
Okay, noted.
I'm not sure if this is where the interview took place or if it's later. I'm just remembering it off the top of my head. That weird Keith Lee interview where they had the clap.
Oh, yeah, I can't remember where exactly it was. I didn't make a note of it. It was just really odd. Like the whole clap, take 22. It's like, I don't know if there's some weird inside joke thing that no one else got or what.
That's what I couldn't tell. Was like online treated it as a production mistake. Like, how could AEW make this production mistake? I don't know if it actually was or if it was just you said a weird inside joke.
I would believe that if they're going to say like take 22, because there's no way you take 22 takes from Keith Lee.
That's a good point. Like, I gotta go to Kyle K. Sparks again. He's being our advice tonight. Just like in ROH, when Maria told Cole Carter to look up what a pearl necklace was, Lexi gave Griff Garrison better advice when she told him not to.
Hmm.
I mean, pearl necklace is just a shiny necklace. I know.
Yeah.
So then we go on to, I think, an Aussie Open squash again. Who cares? The big deal.
I do want to ask you, Ryan, like, I know we're going to probably blow past the Aussie Open squash. While no one's around, are you able to do the hand gesture without everyone around here, all the pressure?
Hold on, Joe. Hold on. Not ready. Hold on. I need you to.
Ooh.
Now, for those just listening, I took myself off stream. I may have done it correctly.
No one will ever know.
Yeah. You don't give away the free content. I get it.
No, I will never know. So, the big deal, though, is that Aussie Open versus FTR at Wrestle Dream, which is going to be a banger. Aussie Open was kind of unceremoniously lost the ROH tag titles, which was kind of BS. I get the story they're serving, but Aussie Open deserved a little bit better there. Them versus FTR is going to be so good.
Yeah, I really wish they would be able. They were heating him back up after that loss to win the AEW Tag Team Championship. So that's my hope.
Yeah. So then we move on to what was actually a very competitive match, and you have Andre El Igloo versus Scorpio Sky, not related to Sky Blue, just in case anyone's confused. And this was a really good match, back and forth. Andrade ends up winning with the figure 24. Figure 8 people. He steals his wife's move. We get it. But this was a really good match. What'd you think about it?
Yeah, especially good because we don't get to see either of the guys very often. So it's like one of those Jedi mind tricks that you forget how good they are because you just don't see them week in and week out. It's still kind of odd for me to have Andrade play a face role because he's just such a good heel all the time that I just don't like him as a face as much. But I'm here for him versus Jay White. I mean, I think that's going to be a great match. So that's something to look forward to.
Yeah, that is going to also be the bang. I'm wondering if this is when LFI comes back into play. With you have the Bang Bang Gang versus Andrade. Andrade needs help. I don't know for sure. It would make sense, but that's gonna be a match.
Yeah, I feel like almost every week every time Andrade is on the TV, we talk about LFI coming back. So maybe if we keep speaking about it, it'll come to resistance.
My thing is, even just let us know where they are with him. Are they with him or are they against him? Or are they just not with him at all?
Yeah,
I don't care. I mean, I care clearly, but if you're gonna tell me they're no longer together, fine. I just want to know. Because they did those vignettes with them where they got kidnapped, then beat up, but it was this whole thing. So and you're having Andrade go against factions. I think is part of the problem too. You're not just having him go against one-on-one guys. It's always a faction. Well, then he's got a faction he used to have that would really level the playing field with the same amount of guys.
We can only hope that maybe he loses and gets beat down by the Bang Bang Gang, and then LFI comes back before the end of summertime.
Yeah, that's summertime. We're in the fall now, aren't we?
Not quite. Are we? I don't know.
I don't know either. I don't care. I'm not a meteorologist. Then we have the Hardys versus the Righteous. And the Righteous won. Wow, Joe doing the snaps. I love it. The Righteous with a pretty straightforward win here. This wasn't a lot of shenanigans. I love it. Now, I will say it does look like they're going after the ROH tag titles, which would then put the ROH, even though I just said they belong up here. But I do love the Righteous getting a nice win over the Hardys. They look good, and they're a lot of fun.
Well, if they follow the trajectory of Aussie Open, they'll go up the ROH title, lose them, and then, months down the road, be in contention for the AEW titles instead. But I like the way they're using the Hardys to help build up some of the younger tag teams by, having them lose to some of these teams to help elevate them. So that's been a really good use of them.
I mean, at this point in their career, that's pretty much what they're good at. I hate to say it. They're just not there for wrestling, and they're not going to be able to do it. I wouldn't care if they got one last title run towards the very end. It was but for the most part, put over the young teams. I think we had somewhere in between Ricky Starks challenging Danielson to a Texas death match. Interesting. I don't quite. I mean, in fairness, the strap match was supposed to be a blow off, and because of Punk getting fired, it had to switch to Danielson as the start of a feud. So I don't usually like 2 back-to-back stipulation matches like this, but I kind of understand that outside forces kind of forced their hand on this one.
I just want to make sure that they do everything they can to protect Danielson from hurting himself.
What about
Because
Starks? I mean, Starks is trying to hurt Danielson.
I know. We have to keep him safe until October 1st.
Yeah, seriously, that's the only thing. Like this, what are we doing here, people? He's got a date with Destiny. If you deprive Kate of this match, she will cry.
Like if we want a blow off match between Danielson and Starks, have them in the ring, go mano and mano and rock paper scissors.
Or looking for October 2nd.
That too. I would take it for the Dynamite after that.
That's what I'm saying. Like just right after, like, or literally as the match ends with Zack Sabre Jr., the match begins with Tricky Starks, because at that point we got what we wanted. But it's gonna probably be a lot of fun. I just traditionally strap match would be the blow off, but then I remember that it just unfortunately things, no one could control the fact that someone wanted to fight their boss. So we come to the main event, which really they should bring Mark Henry over to Collision doing that too. That's just my opinion.
Yeah.
And you have Chris Statlander versus Britt Baker. Britt Baker had issued I don't know if necessarily issued a challenge, but said she was facing the winner of Jade versus Chris on Rampage. Next night, it's Collision, Chris Statlander versus Britt Baker. I really enjoyed this match. They sold me on Britt winning a couple times towards the end. Like, actually, the winning sequence, I swore she was getting the lockjaw in, and then Stat rolled her up, and I was like, holy crap. So I can't really, this was incredible. In my opinion, like that, it wasn't, maybe some people say, well, it's the best. It wasn't a bad technical match. Maybe it wasn't, but story-wise, they had me biting on finishes a lot. What'd you think about it?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, having Britt, have so many callbacks with, pulling out I think it's the Angel Wings finisher that she used to use before the lockjaw. The one thing I appreciated was that it tells you how over Statlander is when, I was worried initially that maybe the crowd would turn against her being at State College and being such a home field advantage for Britt, being that, she went to school there. I thought maybe that she'd be the uber face and Stat would get booed or wouldn't get reaction like she should get. So I think having the crowd back Statlander as much as they did kind of showed me, how much fans are behind her. So I think that can only help her going forward with that belt.
Yeah, Stat's hard to boo. She's one of those very likable wrestlers. I think she's gonna be, if they ever want to make her a heel, I think it's gonna be very tough to do it because she's just very likable in her style.
It's not that tough. You make her wear all leather, black leather, and you have her tell her about like orphans or something.
Okay, fair enough. Good call. And say that your sports team sucks.
Yeah.
But I mean, this was a fun match. Statlander needs to enter into a story, though. I love that she's defending a bunch. Yeah, that belt has been the Open Challenge belt. It needs a story, and Stat needs, like, you can have her do challenges while the story's like her main opponent's being talked about. I don't know who it'll be, but you need to start setting someone up for it now.
Count on your hand how many stories we have involving women. I can count the Outsider stuff. I can count Britain and Sheeta. And then
if you go on ROH, you got Athena and the Minion, which is a story, but it's just an AEW, just those two.
Okay. So yeah, I was like, why you don't have a storyline for your TBS champion? Who knows?
They never have. So I lied. That wasn't actually them. Oh, I should point out Julia Hart was watching, which is an interesting. That could be a story though, because now you have the House of Black, you have Julia Hart. This could extend over. You could have trios matches between the Best Friends and House of Black with Julia Hart and Chris, like you can extend that feud without having them wrestle a ton, and that could be a real good story. As long as you make sure that at some point the TBS title, like Julia's starting it out, make sure that the impetus for the other guys getting involved is that Julia wants a TBS title. Like make that the reason for the feud.
But is she a believable contender?
She can be with the House of Black stuff. We'll have to see. We'll see. But the real main event happened a little earlier, but it's still, in my opinion, the main event. And it was Tony Storm and RJ City and their Portrait of a Star segment. Tony Storm was amazing. She's just, I don't know who thought of this idea, this character. They're a genius, and she has just made it work amazingly.
I thought it was a great pairing having RJ and her and RJ should keep doing these segments.
Yes, because it's clearly a different vibe than her and Renee. You know, Renee's they have a fun segment, which watch out for the watch out for the shoe. Watch out for the shoe.
But RJ goes over the top like Tony does, so I think that
exactly. He just has, and he can kind of like get along with her and agree. Like it's this really silly combo that I enjoy. I hope they do a bunch more of those. So that was really the star of it. So, do you have any final thoughts on Collision?
Not really. Other than it was kind of like Rampage, like an old Rampage. Collision was a solid Collision show. I don't know if it's anything else really stuck out to me about it.
Yeah, I mean, it was a good Collision. It wasn't the best Collision, but it was good. Yeah. I don't want to pretend like I didn't think it was good. You know, they've set a very high bar for that show, so they're not going to always be, the greatest thing going. To be quite honest, like they're going to have some just okay shows. This Kyle's just on fire tonight. Kyle, they're great, but the story ends with RJ City dead and Tony suing. That's 100% true.
Whoa! Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert!
And Scott George wants to know where Captain Insano is. There's rumors. That's all we know.
If you find him before me, let me know.
That'd be hilarious. I kind of hope he'd be fine on Rampage. Give me some Captain Insano bits on Rampage.
Oh, Rampage, yeah, perfect.
I'd be happy boy. Now I know traditionally the way Ant runs this show, he likes to tell you all to buy our T-shirts after the break. But Kate did it before last week, and I said, you know what? I'm going to steal Kate's gimmick because I thought, let's just be different than him. Ant likes his stuff. I like my stuff. So what I'm going to tell all you punks out there, and that's right, I'm calling you punks, is to go to our store, prowrestlingtees.com/MarkOrderPod, or you can go to our Twitter or any social to our link tree, and there's a link right there, and go buy 4 shirts. Not 1, not 2, not 3 before. You're going to buy all 4. And if you have friends, you can buy 4 for them too. And you don't have a choice. I'm now taking the choice from you. You have to do it.
Wow.
I don't care about
taking the choice away from people. Classic middle-aged white man.
Exactly. Kate says, it's all about respecting women. I don't care about that. I'm going the middle-aged white man route. And I really hate them on a middle-aged white man. And that just clicked in. You don't have a choice. You're going to go. You're going to buy all 4. You're going to buy 4 for your friend. At least one friend, buy 4 for them. I expect everyone to do it. I want thousands of orders tonight. If this doesn't happen, I'm going to do nothing.
The silent treatment.
I'm still going to show up on here and do the show as I normally do. But just know, I'm going to do nothing and I'm mad about it.
But if you buy a shirt, I think they should, go on Twitter or social media and at MarkOrderPod and let Ryan know you bought a shirt and how much you want to stick it to him and be like, I bought 4 shirts, Ryan, so suck it.
Exactly. You could spite me by buying 4. I'll tell you who bought at least one is One LT Photo, who also got our Silent TV. Because One LT Photo tagged us in a picture on Twitter, looking quite good in our shirt. So, and
he's supposed to come on the show eventually.
And we'll see. Him and Ant can't seem to schedule that.
Well, I'm trying to dangle the carrot out there for other people.
Oh, well, that was the sign deal, but we'll see what we could do in the future.
If you buy a lot of shirts, we can be swayed.
You could show me proof that you've bought a bunch of shirts. We can make something.
Wear all 4 shirts at the same time and just peel them off.
Oh God, that'd be hilarious. But I'm just saying, I'm telling you, you have to do it. So either you do it because I told you, or you do it to spite me. Either way, you're doing it. And then on top of that, you're going to our YouTube and you're subscribing. If you are already subscribed, you're either going to create a second account and subscribe on that account, or you're going to go to all your friends and you're going to have them subscribe. I'm not giving choices anymore. I'm kicking ass and taking names, minus the kicking ass and taking names part.
Because what, the goal is to try to get to 500 so we're getting closer? Is that right?
Yeah, goals 500. It opens up some things for us that we'd like to have the advantage of. I do have some stuff I've been trying to get around to actually doing to add to there. But life has been in the way for the last couple months. I'm going to hopefully get to it soon. I keep saying that, but I will do it. It's on me only. But in the meantime, ProWrestlingTees.com/MarkOrderPod, or go to any of our socials and go to our link tree, and you can stop, and then you can go get us a shirt. Go get one of our shirts. That's really, again, you don't have a choice. I've officially said it. Someone might think that Joe, that you're calling out the white male patriarchy in the Mark Order. Guess what? This white male patriarch doesn't care because he knows he doesn't have any power. So he's going to throw the gauntlet down, knowing no one's going to listen.
Well, I think it's really important that people buy shirts now more than ever, because now that we don't have free stickers to just hand out to people, like you guys you took all the stickers, you abused that free stuff. So now we need you to go buy shirts to help us, to buy more stickers.
We're poor, lonely men and women, and we need your help. And if you buy a shirt, you got to make sure also that you let Kate know that you bought it because of me and not because of her. I need to really bring her ego down. It's getting way too built up. She gets told by Renee Paquette the other day that she's killing it on Twitter. I don't want to see that.
What?
I want to see that people are buying shirts because of me and not her.
I thought you didn't want to see women supporting women.
I don't want to see anyone. Nope. Go almost said it. Guys, that was cuttable. Backed myself out, even though it was going to be a joke. Almost got me there, but I was like, oh, that could be edited out, even though it's clearly a joke. So, for real, if you have time or money, please go subscribe to our YouTube. It costs you nothing, but it really helps us out. And if you have some money you don't mind spending and getting a t-shirt out of, listen, do I wish you'd wear that t-shirt out everywhere advertising our name? Yes. If you just want to wear it when you work out or go to bed or something, that's fine too. Just would help us out. Either way, we are happy you're here listening and watching us. Listening to us and watching us. You don't listen and watch. And we are going to take a really quick commercial break because apparently we're still part of this thing called the Shining Wizards Network.
Yeah, I think we're obligated to do this to talk about other, low-level programs.
Well, Ant really blew the deal to purchase it. He made some unrealistic he wanted some unrealistic things added to the contract, and it just didn't happen. So I don't unrealistic clauses to the contract. I don't blame him. So he blew the deal. So now we still have to do commercials. So I'm going to put that up right now. We'll see how well I pulled this off because, again, kind of new. So just so you all know, first goes the overlay.
Every one of you for tuning in every Monday night to listen to the Shining Wizards. If you'd like to continue to support us outside of listening, we've got a few ways for you to do that. If you shop at Amazon, go over to amazon.shiningwizards.com, do your shopping as usual, and when you make your purchase, a little bit of that purchase price will go back to support the show. If you like to wear t-shirts, merch.shiningwizards.com will take you to our Pro Wrestling Tees store, where we've got over a dozen great designs from over 11 years of professional wrestling podcasting. You can become a Patreon supporter at patreon.com/wizardspodcast, where each and every week we call out your name as one of our show producers, and the more you support us, the more things that you're entitled to receive, and believe me, they are fantastic. If you can't support us monetarily, if you don't shop at Amazon, that's absolutely fine. Continue to listen to us wherever you listen to us on the World Wide Web, and make sure you like, rate, review, subscribe, do all that good stuff. Doesn't cost you anything, helps us out, and we can continue to bring you the love fest that is the Shining Wizards.
What's up, folks? It's your boy, the Impact Player, Mr. Philly Ray, inviting all of you to check out the Turnbuckle Throwbacks Wrestling Podcast. Join us as we cover all things current in the world of pro wrestling, as well as paying homage to the old school, the squared circle. So listen in and find out why we are the recognized symbol of excellence in sports entertainment broadcasting. Find us on all social media platforms and anywhere you get your podcast from. And as always, we are the proudest members of the Shining Wizards Network and Rant Entertainment Media.
Are you tired of being lied to every day by the mainstream media?
Do you want to know what's really going on in the world?
Do you want to make up your own mind about things and not be told what to think or say?
Then listen to Inconclusive Breakdown, a weekly anti-PC look at the world of entertainment and current events, brought to you without censorship or filters.
You can find us everywhere you listen to podcasts, BitChute, and on ShiningWizardsNetwork.com.
And also, we're a proud member of the Shining Wizards Network.
Got 30 minutes to kill?
Come check out 30 Screams or Less, where we review a horror movie in 30 minutes or less. We cover new movies and old ones too.
We'll give our honest thoughts on the movie, good or shit, as well as a rating of each one that we watch.
New episodes weekly, available on the Shining Wizards Network and wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts.
I'm Steve.
And I'm Corey.
Come check us out at 30 Screams or Less.
G'day guys, my name is Thomas, one half of the Broadcast Podcast. With our podcast, we go back and watch wrestling events from WWE, WWF, WCW, ECW, AEW, and many other wrestling promotions. You can check us out on Twitter at The Broadcast, that's TheBrokast, and you can also download all episodes on Apple Podcast, Castbox, Castro, and many other podcast apps.
You like your music heavy? Then check out Radioactive Metal on the Shining Wizards Network. For over 16 years now, Radioactive Metal has been one of the longest running podcasts. Over the years, we've interviewed some legendary metal acts, had some awesome discussions, and cranked a hell of a lot of tunes. So join your cool Uncle Snowy and his co-host Aaron for the audio mosh pit that is Radioactive Metal here on the Shining Wizards Network.
Well, the action is underway!
What's up, everyone? When on the Shining Wizards Network, be sure to check out Wrestling Night in Canada. If we're not recording another kick-ass podcast,
Or playing in punk bands.
Or recording kick-ass heavy metal albums,
then we're sitting back, we're grabbing a couple brews, and going over everything to do in the world of pro wrestling.
Because we're from Winnipeg, you idiots.
The Mark Order Podcast is the only show you need if you're looking for dedicated coverage of everything AEW on the Shining Wizards Network. Join us live on YouTube every Wednesday night at 10:15 p.m. Eastern after Dynamite to chat along with the show. If you can't join us live, listen to us on your favorite podcast platform. Follow us on all social channels at Mark Order Pod and use the hashtag #JoinTheMarkOrder, because if you don't find us,
we will find you.
I'm Kevin Rogue.
I'm Al Day.
And we're a couple of down under pounders that co-host Rogue Day Dots, an action figure collecting podcast where we talk about, well, just about anything that tickles our fancy at any given moment.
We're grumpy old men, and sometimes people get on our nerves. And when you get on our nerves, guess what? You get off the lawn.
Get off my lawn, asshole! We also go on a little bit of a mission. We go back and we're grading every wrestling figure line that's out there. I'm talking LJNs. I'm talking Jacks. I'm talking Hasbros. Who doesn't like a little Hulkaplex? It's a Gorilla Brain Wrestling podcast production found on the Shining Wizards Network.
I'm Duke Bags.
Kevin Rowe.
And together we are the co-hosts of Your Duke and Road. If you want to hear about some terrible wrestling shows, we got you covered.
Well, we talk about good ones, too.
currently talking about the death of WCW.
I know what we're fucking talking about. Sometimes we get guest spots, like from the Taskmaster. I like to listen to the Year of Duke and Rope podcast. They're funny guys. I like when they talk about the Nards plows. I like Nards plows. That's a good move. And I like the Dungeon of Doom. You know, sometimes I call my butt the Dungeon of Doom. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, Oklahoma.
Let me tell you a little bit about my favorite wrestling podcast. All right. It's a podcast from two men, Duke Banks, Kevin Rhodes. They talk about professional wrestling. It's a man's sport, all right? And who better to talk about a man's sport than Duke? Oklahoma.
And once in a while, Vince Russo stops by.
Oh, you piece of shit! If you're not listening to the Year of Duke and Rope podcast in the back with the boys, you piece of shit, I don't know what you're doing. It's, you gotta slide one in there. If you're a man, you're talking about something only a man can do. You're talking about sliding one in there. Bro, take the time to slide one in there. All right, bro, you piece of shit, slide one in there. A Gorilla Brain Wrestling podcast production that you can find on the Shining Wizards Network.
And we are back after commercials. And I kind of timed that well because I think I pulled everything off perfectly. So I'm just going to say I'm awesome. You all have to accept it.
A true professional.
True professional who doesn't get paid. So now we move into what we're all here for. My personal journal, and tell you how my day went. So I woke up. We're here for a Grand Slam. That's where our co-hosts are because they decided to be cool and go to the show. Scott George wants to point out that Handsome Kevin of the Shining Wizards has too many podcasts on this network. It's not that he has too many podcasts on this network. It's that his commercials are 6 minutes long. And that's the problem.
Both things can be true.
Fair. Okay. He's on 3 different ones. So that's fair. So we're here for Grand Slam. This is the 3rd one they've done. Yeah, it has to be.
Because you missed the first one, right? So
no, I went to the first one, 21, 22, and now this would be the 3rd.
Okay.
So obviously,
based on how it was almost like all out 2.0 of like the cards and the show was pay-per-view level quality for me.
Yeah, listen, they booked the hell out of this. This was awesome. This was definitely a must-watch show, and it's something that the live crowd got a good show for. You know, they were great tonight. I will say that. I know there was about 3 or 4 people up in one section that just really suck. I saw some blonde chick just crying. It's like, lady, get it together.
I thought I heard some wailing. Was that the sounds of like?
Yeah. But aside from that group, you know, the crowd was popping good tonight. So we'll start out with the match that I really, 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 really thought was going to be the main event. And I know that seems crazy when you have your title up for the main event, but
yeah, you could have flip-flopped them. You could have flip-flopped either of them.
Yeah, I mean, this story was what everyone wanted to see. Someone just signed into our chat by the name of Jesse Ozok. They don't get more acknowledgement than that for me. We are in a feud.
I'll say hi, Jesse, since someone else doesn't acknowledge you.
How dare you betray me, Joe? How dare you?
I don't want to have heat with Jesse.
Dare you. So in my notes, I wrote, for Kingston. When I saw this opening, I had a bad feeling originally, because I just thought this can't be good if it's opening. Clearly, I was wrong. Eddie Kingston ends up winning this match after a power bomb. It was the Northern. Well, no, he did the Northern Lights, and then he did another one. It was a whole sequence. Sorry, I have my notes are I have bad handwriting. My note basically says this: there was a chop battle, there was a suplex on the ramp, and then I wrote "ouch." But I think my biggest note on this is I have no idea if from a technical stance this match was good. It was awesome from like a watching stance.
It didn't have to be technical. I mean, with the history of 12 plus years or however many years it is between these two, It didn't need to be a technical masterpiece. It just needed to be brutal and just a lot of striking. I was watching the match and like I thought it was 20 minutes had gone by. Like, oh, it's only been 10 minutes. And like they laid their shit into one another for like nonstop at the beginning. And
that was intense. Like I said, there was a couple chops. There was one point where like Eddie was chopping Claudio and he's like, hit me harder, and I loved that. There's just a whole feel to this match where I don't know how they told, like, you just felt like this mattered to them. And I don't know how I expressed it. And I think that's just the skill of these two, that they, in a wrestling thing of all things, that they can get out there that this match mattered. It's a weird thing. Not every time. No, it doesn't always get pulled off, but it did here. I want to point out too, Excalibur said it. Bryce Remsburg was all the way back with these guys. So when they began, I didn't realize that. So that's a nice little piece to be thrown in.
Just add to the layer of the history between the two, why it makes it feel so personal when you can have that kind of storytelling on the peripheral.
Exactly. Jesse, I'll acknowledge you. Yes, my background is nice. It's for a certain starlet who appears later.
Right. I do kind of like now that they shook hands and they have respect again. I kind of want to see Claudio and Eddie like in a buddy cop movie or like some kind of like Step Brothers movie or something. I think that'd be great. Just an odd couple.
I do, but we need to get done with Adam Cole and MJF first because they kind of fit that role for a little while.
True.
But I agree. I think the crowd was very clearly pro Eddie Kingston. That wouldn't be surprising anywhere, but it's especially not surprising in New York. The way he, the pop he got walking out was huge. They sold me a couple times on Claudio winning, and I was going to be like, how are they doing this? Like, how are you going to have the rest of the show be okay if this crowd just saw Claudio win? Because they're going to lose their goddamn minds. And the pop when Eddie pulled it off, incredible. Just outright incredible. Eddie's in ring, it won't be for everyone. He's got because he's a slower style, a more brutal style. It's just not for everyone. But you just can't deny the man connects.
Yeah, I feel like
that's all you need.
He connects on a level of he's kind of the everyman of you don't have to suspend your belief of I know that guy. He lives down the block and he's the tough guy in the neighborhood. He has a heart of gold, but he'll smack you in the mouth if you step out of line. He doesn't look like this Adonis of a body of a wrestler, but it doesn't make him any less tougher or any less intimidating. Like I look at him like, man, if I ever wrestled, I'd probably end up being like him or his style of just like, a mismatch of some technical stuff, some just regular brawling. But I think it's just relatable.
It is. You're right. He has that. He has the guy that you could see at the bar. Like I told you last week here, him and Claudio just remind me of two dads at a kid's game. And you have the one dad who was like the ex college athlete who like takes his kid, like wears the same jumpsuit as his kid and takes him to everything and they train. And then the other dad who's drinking on the sidelines, drinking beer, Randy Marsh, just like want to fight about it. And it was awesome. I mean, so well deserved. The man has 2 belts now. Like,
it's been a hell of a year for him. I mean, he got to wrestle in the G1. He has the New Japan title. He has the ROH World Championship now. I mean, it's
he's earned a lot, and he got to do it in front of his home crowd, which just has to be the coolest thing in the world.
I'm glad that at least one wrestling organization helps a wrestler finish a story. That's my takeaway. I'm glad Eddie got to finish his story.
Well, his story's not done.
Well, with Claudio.
He has yet to light anyone on fire.
Maybe
until he lights someone on fire, I don't think his story's done.
Okay. You have a high standard.
Humble opinion.
Okay, that's fair.
So after this amazing match, we move on to the Kingdom at Roddy's bedside in, I guess, a hospital. Not quite sure why. They had the beeping, like, I guess the heart monitor, which doesn't make sense. Then you have Matt Taven with like rosaries over Roddy. And then Roddy wakes up, Adam! And then Adam Cole is there, which is just awesome. And then, of course,
pure sports entertainment.
But it's the best type. And then, of course, the King like, we have to leave. And then Adam Cole's like, I have to leave. And Roddy's like, no, you stay with me. And Adam Cole's like, I gotta leave. And then, maybe one of my favorite moments in wrestling in a long time. Roddy Strong raises his hospital bed and it creaks the entire it goes super slow and creaks, and everybody's, I don't know how they did the scene. I don't know how Adam Cole didn't laugh every second. And he gets like not even all the way up. He gets like halfway up and he goes, just go. And then he starts to go down. It was amazing.
Yeah,
I'm gonna rewatch that a bunch of times.
Yeah, I don't want this to end. It's so entertaining.
It's just so funny. So that will come back into play a little bit later. Kristen cut a promo backstage where if he wants a shot, if Darby Allin wants another shot at the TNT title, it has to be in a 3-way with Christian and Luchasaurus, and Sting isn't allowed at ringside. And Christian at one point slips up and calls it a handicap match and then quickly goes back to it being a 3-way. Now, my question is, does Christian actually win this match?
Good question. It's to retain the TNT championship.
Well, or to like officially, like he has it back.
I can see that happening. I can see that playing out, and that would further that storyline of him and Luchasaurus down the road here.
Because I am loving him being the TNT champion without being the TNT champion. But if you're in a 3-way, how does he not win?
I don't know. How often have you been in a 3-way?
So we go on to our next. I'm just saying, like, in theory, people are making edge jokes in the chat. Maybe we will see. But you would think he and Luchasaurus would break Darby, and then Luchasaurus would just lay down. Like, that is, I'm not saying that's what's going to happen, but that's what, if you're doing logic, it's like why wouldn't you? And then we move on to Sammy versus Jericho. Jericho walks out to his typical song, but Sammy comes out second, comes out to Matizi, who I will not lie, I am not familiar with. I know the name, do not know the music. That's not I'm not cool. I don't really listen to music, so it doesn't say much. Sammy's gear was a tribute to the gear Jericho wore against Shawn Michaels when they had their first match in whenever, which is really interesting stuff.
I think WrestleMania 19,
something like that.
And a little foreshadowing.
So this was in my opinion, a very good match. Sammy had his typical crazy, he did a couple crazy moonsaults. He did a cutter off the rope. Jericho had some good spots. One where he suplexed Sammy off the apron to the floor. And then Sammy loses because he goes for a shooting star press, and Jericho reversed it into the code breaker or whatever they call it. And that was the end of the match. I don't know how I feel about Jericho winning. I don't think he needed to. However, based on the post-match antics, it kind of makes sense. And I'll just say it. In the post-match, they're hugging. They love each other. And then Sammy gives Jericho the old dick kick. And that is the callback to WrestleMania 19 when Jericho did the same thing to Shawn Michaels. And you think, oh, God, Sammy, and he's getting some heat. But then he gets mega heat. Well, he doesn't really get the mega heat. Don Callis walks down and takes Jericho. Not Jericho, takes Sammy. So Sammy's now part of the Don Callis family. What are your thoughts, Joe?
Where to begin? Let's talk about my thoughts on the match first. Kind of like you were talking about, I thought they had really good chemistry together, which makes sense because, they know each other so well. It got a little sloppy at the end, but overall, I thought it was, a good match between the two. And having the veteran come out on top, being the, I've taught you everything you know, but I haven't taught you everything I know type of thing. And that made sense to me. And Sammy, after all this time of Sammy finally being a face and finally getting cheered, all of a sudden we pivot him to being a heel again. I don't think Sammy can ever be a face, ever. Because even when now he was getting cheered for being a face, we're like, oh, no, you're a heel.
Yeah, this is the biggest problem Sammy runs into is they don't know what to do with him. Now, Scott George does have a good point in the chat. He's saying this was great. Sammy finally doing something for himself. I'm willing to accept that as like Sammy. Yes, he's joined the Callis family, but he's being represented by Callis, looking to be his own star. Like Callis's thing is everyone becomes a star under Callis. Like that's the way he's trying to promote it. So I am accepting that of the story. But you're right. Sammy was just getting cheers. Have you been working for like the last 8 months to get him cheers? And then you instantly make him heel again. It's like, I almost feel bad for him. They don't seem to know what to do with him.
But again, this is hopefully making my fantasy booking come true of Callis taking the JAS from Jericho. With Sammy being the first piece and maybe Garcia.
Well, you know what? I'll skip to it because I don't need to go in order. There is something to that because in a little bit, you have Sammy and Callis walking backstage, and Renee Paquette tries to interview Sammy, and they blow past her. But then Daniel Garcia walks up to Sammy, and Sammy kind of like what? And Callis gets in the way and saying he's like money, or he's like he's something like that. I forget the exact term. I think it was he's money, and pushes him away from Garcia to not have them fight. So Callis is still courting Daniel Garcia.
I was a little disappointed Garcia didn't do his dance. I thought he was going to dance upon Sammy.
Yeah, apparently, Tony Khan did it in between shows tonight.
Oh, that's what happens when you work 80+ hours a week.
That's very, very true. So then we move on to. We are moving on, maybe.
Phoenix and Mox.
Yeah, well, we move on to hold on, nope. Where are my notes? We have the NJF promo, I think, somewhere first. Yeah. He does the promo and Adam Cole gets a call. And it's Roddy Storm. And Adam's like, all right. And the call interrupted the better than you, baby chant or slogan. And Adam had to go to the hospital because Roddy said it was an emergency. That comes to play later in the main event. So just keep that in mind that Roddy had to take a call to help, not Roddy. Cole had to take a call to help Roddy. Cole's just a man torn between two best friends.
When you have two best friends, kind of like football, when you have two quarterbacks, you have none. So when you have two best friends, you probably don't have any. You don't have a best friend.
Listen, Jesse Ozog. Jesse Ozog saying that he hates the Garcia dance. What are you doing here? What are you doing?
He's really
trying to fight with me? I'll fight with you. I'll do it. I don't know where you live, and I don't know anything about you, but I'll fight you.
Now, maybe if we get 500 subscribers to YouTube, maybe we could have Ryan do the Garcia dance.
Yeah, well, yeah. Yeah, I actually would do it. What do I care?
Oh, yeah.
So we have the Ray Phoenix versus Jon Moxley match. Listen, I was going to go through all the parts here. It all seems irrelevant. Ray Phoenix won in what seemed like a surprise ending. Everyone was kind of shocked. It came out that we were getting texts from our co-host at the show. And then you see it on Twitter. Mox looked to be legitimately hurt. Some slow motion replays of the there was like a wasn't a pile. It was kind of like a pile. I don't know what the move's called. Not Excalibur, but yeah, Phoenix had Mox kind of slung over his shoulder and kind of like pile drove him down, kind of like what Owen Hart did to like to Stone Cold when he broke his neck. To be perfectly honest, I don't like that comparison, but it's the style of move where like the head is between the legs, and he looks like he bounced his head. There are some thoughts it might be a concussion. There's some, you always worry about the neck on a move like that, but it definitely seems like an audible was called as soon as that happened.
Yeah, I think they did a nice job of trying to protect that first fall where I feel like Mox was supposed to kick out, and
he
didn't move, but at least they were behind the refs, so you can't really see Mox just like laying there. So I thought they did the best they could to cover that up, and then have Phoenix follow it up really quick for something else.
He did. I mean, clearly Knox seemed confused, so he didn't do the count, and it was like, oh, barely moved his shoulder, and then they did it again. I guess that's when he got the cue of like, oh, this needs to end. Moxley walked out under his own volition. He apparently walked out through the crowd. He was followed by Renee and Claudio and Yuta. So listen, walking out on your own court is the biggest deal, because if it was anything with your neck or anything, you wouldn't really be able to. Obviously, best case scenario here is it's nothing. It's a very minor thing it hit, but then it seemed worse than it is. I don't know what it could be. Concussion seems likely based on drum, but I'm not a doctor. I don't even pretend to be one. You just hope the man's okay. I'm glad they ended the match. Back in the day, they wouldn't. They would have continued that match because wrestlers, I don't want to blame wrestlers. No one knew that it was dumb to continue the match. Nowadays, we know that you end it so that they can get looked at.
And this opens up a whole different possibility now of what they do with that title now that Phoenix has it, since it's kind of probably an unexpected title change, right? So now, we have this whole new creative direction for Phoenix with the title of who, does he continue to do an open challenge, or do we do a storyline with someone?
That's true. Keep Orange Cassidy away from it. The man's tired. Let him rest. You know what, Jesse? Sorry, Jesse's saying I didn't want to judge Mox's health. Roddy Strong was clearly faking. That's not a judgment of health. He's a faker.
You're not a doctor. You don't know this.
I'm Roddy Strong's doctor.
Matt Taven might think otherwise.
Matt Taven knows nothing. He's a magician. Listen, when he wears the white gloves, I think he's a magician. That's all I'm going to say. He does kind of remind me of Phantasmo. But you just all you say in a situation like this is you hope for the best for Mox. I don't care. Wrestling becomes very, very, very second to real life, and it's never great when a match has to be stopped because of an injury, because especially any injury involving the head or the neck, because it's always just the risk of severity there is just so much greater.
Yeah, I mean, even not to downplay concussion, but even a concussion. Look at how long it took. Heyman. Look how long it took. Adam Cole after having
almost ended Adam Cole's career.
Yeah, so hopefully it's not that serious. But
you can't downplay a concussion. Concussion, you can get better in a day, or concussion, you can never get better. That's the scary thing about a concussion, is you have absolutely zero idea.
Yeah.
On the timeline, there's still got CTE is a thing. But
in a more lighthearted moment of the match, I have enjoyed Mox pulling out the stomp. And
that was
he pulled up stomp, and he you couldn't see it really well in the camera angle, but he kind of gave a wink to the camera, and as the crowd does the whole Seth Rollins chant thing.
That was a nice acknowledgement to
the PWI 500 brother.
Well, the entire Shield was top 3. And unlike Tony on the Shining Wizards, I happen to think Mox belongs in the top 3. So,
Oh yeah.
I think the man can wrestle any type of match. Yes, he bleeds a lot now. And he does that one style because that's the style that he's decided to wrestle in AEW. But he can wrestle the others if he had to.
Yeah. Don't let that take away from what you think of him as a wrestler. Like kind of like Orange Cassidy. Yeah, he puts his hands in his pockets and does that little shtick, but he shows a lot more than that throughout the match. People get hung up on one thing sometimes with people.
Yeah, it becomes a whole thing. So this kind of, like I said, where we go from here, I don't know. I don't know who Ray Phoenix's next challenger will be. I think some of it'll depend on how healthy Mox is. Like,
for a rematch or something.
Yeah, if he's going to be back quickly, we'll probably just have a rematch where he gets his win back. If he's going to be out a while, then you book for Ray Phoenix to do something. Ray Phoenix isn't. I tell you what, if Mox is either not going to be back, or maybe they just don't want to give him the title back. Like, yeah, we got it off you. We can take this. We're going to put you in a different direction. Ray Phoenix isn't a bad guy to have a little mini run here because he's going to have some great matches.
Yeah, I mean, usually you think of Penta being kind of the singles guy between the Lucha Brothers, right? So, letting Ray kind of be the singles guy for a while, that could be interesting.
Yeah, I have my. You hope Mox is okay, and I think there's some possibilities here. Ray, listen, if you told me right now Mox was fine, this was always the plan to put it on Ray Phoenix, we're like, okay, because Ray Phoenix is at that level. Like, he's a really good wrestler. It would seem weird just booking wise, but the guy isn't the issue. Like, Ray Phoenix isn't the issue there. He's a lot of fun. He's going to put on some crazy matches, maybe too crazy at points. Let's calm it down. But he's going to be a fun time. But hopefully Mox is all right. Like I said, the fact that he got up and walked out on his own, because for concussion or neck injury or any injury, getting up and walking out on your own, it's a big deal to do that. Like, having been injured, I'm sure we've all been injured. If you can't get out and walk on your own, you're in serious trouble.
Mm-hmm.
So then we go to there's the Samoa Joe promo. He was just typical awesome Joe, given the heat, and he's going to destroy Max, and a lot of fun. There was no extra shenanigans in that one, so there's not a lot to point out. It was just a good Joe promo.
Yep, I agree with that one.
Go to Saraya versus Toni Storm. And Toni Storm has a new entrance with new music. And it fades to black and white. And she comes out like a starlet with some like starlet style music.
Some slow motion. It felt very like it kind of gave me like old school Goldust vibes when he first came out, came on the scene back in the 90s. Kind of the slow motion, soft focus.
Yes, but instead of the gold, it's black and white. Yes.
Yeah. But it was great. Presentation on point.
Sorry, I'm sure you might have like those blink cameras or whatever. And there's a cat in the back, and I didn't know anyone around me had a cat, so that's always gets me.
But yes, let's toss some girl on girl action here.
Yeah, so this.
Tell me I'm wrong.
No, this was awesome. It starts out with to me, a really fun moment where Tony goes to hug Saraya, and Saraya slaps Tony. And the first slap, Tony looks like she's gonna cry. And then Saraya slaps her a couple more times, and Tony starts to smile. And it's such a crazy smile. I just fascinated me to see that, like, how good she was at that character switch right there. It's so good. So it was a back and forth match. There was a lot of cheating on both sides, which was kind of funny. I like what both sides are doing it. This kind of reminded me, not style of the match, but a little bit like the Eddie and Claudio thing, where I don't know how technically sound it was, but from a story standpoint, amazing. Like, they were telling a really fun story. The crowd was very into it. The ending was when Tony went for the hip attack and missed, but she had pulled off the bottom turnbuckle. So when she went in for the hip attack and Saraya ducked, she exposed her lower thigh, I guess, to the bottom turnbuckle, which is what she ended up, which I don't, again, not quite sure how that would finish you off. But it didn't finish her off actually, because then Saraya picked her up and hit her with the nightcap and pinned her. Saraya retains, which I like because I didn't want to read that short of a Saraya reign. Plus, Tony going in further into her crazy descent is just what we all need. She doesn't need the belt because it would have only hurt this story. Her story is her getting crazier and crazier. What do you think of the match, Joe?
Yeah, I think it was a good match for what was. You didn't want to do anything crazy with it because there's still a lot of meat on the bone with the story and between Ruby and Saraya and Tony, that you could carry this on for another month or two. I think just watching the match between Tony and Saraya, like they each had like conflicting moments when they weren't sure they wanted to, hurt each other to that point. Tony had the, I love you moment before she was going for the hip attack, kind of like Shawn Michaels. And then, Saraya didn't really want to, throw Tony's head into the exposed turnbuckle. So maybe there's something there between those two where they get along. I like the fact that Tony incorporated the shoe in the match. Multiple times, there's shoes everywhere. And then I wasn't the whole like random kissing spot was out of left field, but
it was, I mean, to me, it goes into like she's crazy. She did something to mess with her opponent's head. No one saw that coming. Like, it's supposed to be that whole crazy thing, which I get it. It's a weird spot, but at the same point, because it's so out of place in a wrestling match, it works. Like, you're not supposed to be doing that in a wrestling match. The fact that she did, I don't know. The moment where she was outside the ring and she's looking at Ruby and lays flat on her back and rolls under the ring to grab her slippers is amazing. One, because she grabbed slippers to beat up Ruby. Two, the way she went to her back is just hilarious. I don't think I've seen someone go down that way before. So, like, perfect match, perfect for that. She's crazy. The crowd loves her now. Like, she is the crowd favorite, clearly. I really enjoyed this match.
Yeah, I just want, if she's not wrestling all the time, I just want a lot of vignettes at least, or backstage segments with her. She needs to be on TV a lot.
Yeah, she does. She needs to be, she needs to do more of that RJ City stuff. She needs to throw more shoes at Renee. She needs to further descend into this Hollywood craziness. But also, like, I don't want to downplay that this was a good match.
Oh, it was. She turns it on, and I give Saraya a lot of credit. Like, I know some people, and myself included, were kind of skeptical of like, well, how much will she wrestle when she gets the belt? She was kind of shaky for a while when she first came back, but like, I feel like the last couple of matches, she really has been consistently pretty solid again. So maybe
she's been doing well, and
the ring rust is knocked off.
And I think the thing for her is going to be if because of whatever reason, because of injuries and stuff, you can't be the same way you used to be in the ring. If you just could tell the story with it, then it won't matter. Like, and this was a perfect example. They didn't do, like, if you go back and watch this match, they didn't do anything crazy, but it didn't matter because every move had a purpose, every move had a story. It just really made it work. I'm curious to see what's next for Saraya. I'm very curious to see what's next for Toni Storm. There's a lot of women waiting in the wings, so to speak. Does Saraya still feud with Storm, or do they go their separate ways? It's a very interesting question. You have Mercedes too. At some point, she's going to be around. Listen, she was at All In. She's clearly got something to do here. And her belt would be the heavyweight title. So when does she come around to feud with Saraya? People thought tonight, I think it made sense not to do it. One, I don't know if she's healthy. to as good as his card was, you didn't really need that.
Yeah, I mean, we can put that on the back burner for now and wait and see, October, November comes around,
Exactly. You know, save it for a card that's hurting a little bit. So then we now, oh man, we are moving tonight. But guys, we promised you a quick one. We're delivering. We moved on to our main event of MJF versus Samoa Joe, and this goddamn MJF's entrance starts with I guess it's a Bret Hart callback where the kid yelled to Bret Hart in the back locker, in the locker room, the camera does a quick zoom up on the face. I did it with MJF, and then the kid says something to says he loves MJF or whatever. MJF goes down to the kid and says something to him, and you can't really sit. And all of a sudden the kid looks up at that and goes, "Damn, I'm adopted." Oh my god, it was perfect.
Yeah, this gave it having little packages before the entrances, it made it feel all the more like a pay-per-view.
It was a great moment for the pay-per-view. You're right, it did. Having those packages, having the promos to build up, which is something I think they started doing a lot more on Collision than they did here.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm glad to see some of Collision's smart decisions kind of starting to play over on to Dynamite. And it was just so, like I said, I'm adopted. So then we get to the match.
Well, I want to call it MJF's jacket of placating to the fans and having every single New York team on his jacket looking like he's a NASCAR driver.
But he was mostly Mets though. He kind of mostly went Mets on that, the Mets colors
on his gear. But his jacket, he had the Buffalo Bills and the Jets and the Mets, and yeah, it was totally opposite of what you do. When you're a heel, you shit on the team. When you're a face, you love all the teams.
I don't think I've ever seen someone do all the teams though. That jacket's gonna be up for sale on some site soon. For hopefully for charity, but MJF could also just not do it for charity and get away with it. So we go into the match, and this is kind of what I expected from the match. It's basically Samoa Joe kicking the crap out of MJF, with MJF getting moments of offense in. There's a spot outside where you think MJF's gonna do a pile driver to Joe on the concrete, and it's the exact opposite. Samoa Joe gets him. So then the doctors come to check on Max, and Samoa Joe basically attacks the doctors or the medics or whoever. So there was, it was basically Joe kicking the crap out of Max for 20 minutes to a half hour. Then Max gets the dynamite ring out, and you think, okay, the ref catches him. Fuck you, ref. I think it was Paul Turner. Fuck you, Paul Turner. And he's gonna hit Joe. Sorry, I'm reading my notes, and my notes are so as he gets the ring taken off, Joe hits him with the low blow, and then hits him with the muscle buster, and you think it's over. But MJF kicked out, and then he puts him in this coquina clutch, and you think, uh-oh, it's all over. But who comes running down? And it's, I wanted to hear, that music that's played when people run in 1LT. Hold on, 1LT. He had pinstripes on. The Mets also sometimes have pinstripes. Don't they? I think they do. I think they have blue pinstripes sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes.
But, yeah. So when Adam Cole came running down the ramp, yeah, they do. It was the Mets blue pinstripes. Sorry, I was going to nod me. When Adam Cole came running down the ramp, I wanted to hear that music.
Oh, the Chariots of Fire?
I don't remember. It's the one where they play where everyone always runs in slow motion.
Slow motion, yeah.
Yeah, and I really wanted that. And because he came and he saved the day. And it was basically his way of saving the day was he pumped up MJF, got him back in the match, and then Paul Turner gets knocked out, and MJF takes the tag rope and chokes out Samoa Joe with the tag rope. And Paul Turner gets back in the ring after waking up, and Samoa Joe's out. MJF chokes him out with the tag rope, then puts him into a regular old chokehold, and you think, okay, and he's out. Match over, and MJF puts the tag rope under his arm, and ref raises an arm and it drops. Now, in every other time I've ever seen this done, the ref looks down and goes, and we have like a restart. In this case, MJF grabs the ref and spins him around and like hugging him, was excited. And Adam Cole runs in the ring, the rope, and puts it in his pocket. Brilliant. So this was, again, I'm probably not the best at recapping these because my notes got kind of messed up at this point and I'm all disoriented now. But again, one hell of a main event. There was one weird thing. I think because the Mox Phoenix match went short for obvious reasons, this match was probably supposed to end closer to 10:05 because this match ended at like 10 o'clock. And then they basically had like 5 minutes of the two of them in the ring just celebrating. They had an overrun when it wasn't needed.
Yeah, I was waiting for something else to happen, like something going to happen. But
I was like, I didn't think Edge would be showing up.
No.
But when the overrun kept going that long, I'm like, is Edge showing up? Like, oh crap. Adam Cole is at the hospital for injury sustained at the end of Dynamite. For Sean Ross sat.
Yeah, because I mean, I watched him run down the ramp. He's running down the ramp fine, and then when because the ramp was elevated to the wrestling mat height. I don't know if he was running down the steps from the ramp to the floor, or he jumped or something, and then he kind of stumbled, and they took a minute to get around to Max's side to help him. So I don't know if he hurt his ankle somehow or his foot or what. And then he was limping the rest of the night. After Max won, he was limping around in the ring. So
yeah, I mean, that was the thing. It looked like that's apparently where it happened when he was jumping off the ramp. Looked serious. I hope they're just going for X-rays or something. I mean, you'd have to go for that if you mess up your ankle. Again, we kind of said it earlier. Sprain is kind of the best case scenario here.
Yeah,
sprains suck because they take sometimes longer to heal than a break, but you usually can work on your sprain. Like you don't have to. I'm just judging by what like pro sports players do. They get a sprain and they seem to play, whereas when they get a break, they don't. So,
yeah, when they're scheduled for they're waiting to face the winners of Saturday's four-way match or 4-team match of the Kingdom and the Hardys and the Righteous and Best Friends. So are they wrestling them next week or the week after?
Yeah, I don't know actually. I don't know if anyone in chat knows when that match is supposed to happen. It would suck because this is the best story going so right now, and it still has heat.
Mm-hmm.
And if you lose it because of a fluke injury like that, it sucks for Adam Cole and it sucks for the story. My hope is, again, it's something. I hope it's just precautionary. You take him to the hospital because his leg is swollen or something, and they go and they're like, yeah, you have a sprankle. And the next scheduled defense is at WrestleDream for Kyle K. Sparks, our resident researcher.
So hopefully, if it's nothing major, that'll be enough time.
Yeah, if it isn't anything major, it would be. Based on, again, just my limited experience of having sprained my ankle, but also professional athletes, when they get hurt, sprains seem to always play. Whereas broken, you can't, because the risk of it, you can't really make I guess you can make a sprain worse, but in my experience, it's difficult too. You can mess up a break.
So did the match pay off for you? I mean, it was kind of a 7-year, a culmination of a 7-year build.
Listen, This match never had to happen based off that build. The fact that they did it is just amazing. So yeah, it did. The fact that they built something out of nothing and MJF gets his moment of being like, "You thought I was just some punk, uh, who you could push by. Look, now not only am I the champ, I beat you." And for MJF, cheating doesn't matter. For Samoa Joe, cheating doesn't matter because Samoa Joe's the kind of guy to be like, "You beat me how you beat me." So yeah, this was the ending I could have wanted. What about you?
Yeah, I think I like the fact that they always pay off when MJF says how he calls a shot of he's going to beat Joe by choking him out. He's going to beat Darby with a headlock takeover. He finds a way to do it, even if it's like, taking shortcuts, but he still does it.
That's a good point. Uh-oh, I'm frozen on a yawn. That's not good. Hold on. You open up one thing to make sure that see if there's any news, and you get frozen on a yawn.
Very slow motion, like a Tony Storm entrance.
I just wanted to I'm back. Like I said, I was looking for Adam Cole news, but you're right. He does say how he's going to win, and they let him do it that way, and that to me is genius. You have the guy. Okay, I got distracted by our chat. Scott George has a good idea. They should do a spot where Roddy and Adam are in the same hospital room together. That is actually very funny.
Yeah, when Adam just making noises, and then Roddy can be like, "Adam, Adam," and then they pull back the curtain, and it's like, "Oh, Adam, you're over there. I can't see you."
Or like, you know what, Kyle K saying he did the same exact finish during the Punk feud. If it works once, why wouldn't you do it again? Get your head out of here. No, but I agree. I understand. It is like.
Don't we just pretend the Punk thing never happened anymore now?
No, they're not going to pretend it didn't happen, but he's got a point. You can't use it. But I forgot it happened, so it worked for me. What would be funnier, though, is if they're in the same hospital, but the Kingdom keep Roddy from seeing Adam. And so Adam thinks that Roddy wouldn't even come to see him in the hospital. So they create dissension because clearly they have a goal here.
Mm-hmm.
And their goal is to create dissension between Roddy and Adam. So that I'm liking the idea, Scott. There's a lot to do there. We'll see. Hopefully it only happens because they find out he's fine and they can make a joke.
So one LT photo saying like, how many times has MJF used the ring though? As far as like, going to the well one too many times. My thought is, how do you wrestle with a ring in your trunks an entire match?
Don't make the elevator joke. Don't make the joke. There's a joke here about where that ring is. I'm not gonna make it. Yeah, that's a good point. I don't know how it doesn't fall out or
like if you land on your, like if you take a bump and you land on it, you just have an indention. I don't know.
Oh God.
I mean, I land on my keys in my pocket and that hurts.
I don't know where he actually puts it. Does it yeah, it's a good point. Is it in his trunks the whole match, or does he get handed it at one?
Yeah, I don't. I mean, he obviously pulls it out of the front, but I don't know if it just handed somewhere or is planted
like does
somewhere.
the ref at some point when we're not paying attention hand him the ring, and then which would be bad though because if it gets seen, then you look really bad. My guess is that like his trunks have like a pocket that it goes into, but you're right, landing on that has to hurt. But if you pad it enough, you might be okay.
Okay.
I honestly have no idea. That's actually a really good question because
I've always wondered, like when all throughout wrestling, when people like hide stuff in their trunks, I'm like, is it there the whole time? What happens if you land on it? No, lots of things can happen.
That is a good question and something I never considered because you're right. It's not just the risk of it falling out because you could put a zipper or any kind of pocket in there. Falling on that has to hurt so bad. Because you're right. You land on your keys and your keys stab in your leg. You're like, what the hell just happened? Because you land on your I don't like the idea. I don't like that. I'm not
What don't you
I'm
like?
not a fan. Not a fan of the idea of where that could hurt. He might
Yeah.
not be able to have kids now.
Yeah. But otherwise, yeah, I thought the match itself was good. I thought, Joe looked dominant as he should, especially with MJF selling the neck injury, and just being a smaller guy than Joe. That Death Valley driver on the apron that he delivered to Max, I'm like, I don't know. This is why I can't be a wrestler. I can never be like, I'll take that bump. You can drop me on the side of the apron, sure.
Yeah, I'm with you. Listen, I can't be a wrestler because I'm unathletic, but I don't want to take the bumps either. So what did you think of the Grand Slam? Do you think it was a real home run?
It was delicious, almost like a breakfast. That's right, Grand Slam breakfast.
You served that right back to me.
It was a bases loaded home run of a show.
It was a dinger of a response. Yeah, this was great. This card was stacked and it delivered.
Yeah, I think I always love when they make Grand Slam its own special event now, where it feels.
And the interesting thing is, you'll notice not to say you'll notice, but it's just interesting to consider. None of the elite were on there.
Yeah, I know they have Rampage matches, but yeah,
I'm just saying it kind of shows how deep your card is. That your talent pool is. That we're saying how great this match is, and meaning it, and and then they didn't have their premium group on the card. I think that's impressive.
Yeah, they have a lot of depth after all, these handful of years they've been around now.
Yeah.
You have Rampage. You have a 2-hour Rampage coming up, and then you have another 2-hour Collision.
Happened for one LT photo. I don't know what it is. Actually, I do know one spoiler, but I'm not going to obviously say. But if you subscribe to Fightful Select, which doesn't pay us at all, so I can't tell you to do that. But if you do, there is a spoiler out there, so be aware.
I feel like if people subscribe to them, they have money to buy a shirt.
I agree. Come on, guys, be cool. Be cool, guys. I'll give you scoops. They won't be accurate or real, but I'll give them to you.
Like your medical advice?
My medical advice is 100% accurate. Roddy's faking it.
Okay, I haven't seen the scans. I haven't seen the X-rays. I don't know.
I'm his doctor.
Speculate.
I am his doctor.
Who wears a neck brace who's faking it?
Who wears that neck brace when they have an actual neck problem? They have better neck braces now.
Hey, healthcare is not cheap. You get what you get.
They wouldn't give you that. You're wrong, and I'm sorry.
I don't know. I'm not here to argue for someone else's medical condition.
Yeah, you better not be, or I will do nothing. So this has been our recap of all things All Elite. We kind of covered the big news, which was Jade leaving. As far as I'm aware, there's not really a lot of other news. Is there any news that you're on your radar that was really?
Are we talking all news or just AEW related news?
AEW. Actually, there was one thing that's in my notes I'll bring up, but other than that.
But otherwise, yeah, AEW news. Can't think of anything too much.
The only other thing I had in my notes is that Warner Brothers Discovery is coming out with a live sports thing on Max. It's going to be $10 a month essentially. For the first few months, it's free if you already have Max. AEW is not currently included on that, but everyone's got to believe at some point some version of the product's going to end up there. Obviously, they don't think you're going to get Dynamite or the Collision will stay on TV, but Andrew Zarian has basically said that he fully believes that they're going to go to 12 pay-per-views a year. They were tied in together. They'll go on 12 pay-per-views a year. That only works if you have Max, because no one's paying that money every month. Maybe some people will, but most people will not.
How much was it per month?
It's 50 for this new service, $10. It'd be $10 instead of $50 per month.
Oh, okay, $10 a month, sure.
Yeah, and then my guess is Tony Khan is desperately trying to negotiate ROH onto that, which would make the most sense. And if I'm Max, I do it. It's a library of stuff. You should want that kind of stuff on your service, but we'll see. So that leads me to my question, because I do truthfully believe they're still going to end up on Max anyway. They're just not there yet, either in their negotiations, or they don't want to break the news of a new contract yet, which you would do. If you were putting them on there, everybody would know there's a new contract. So they could be holding off for that reason. What's your feeling on 12 pay-per-views?
12 pay-per-views. So, I mean, I'm trying to think. I mean, obviously, you're going to have your 4 major ones, kind of like the WWE does. So you'll have, you'll have your Full Gear, you'll have Revolution, All In, All Out. And then I feel like, you have other pay-per-views like Wrestle Dream, if they do that every year, if they do Forbidden Door every year. And then some of the Dynamites they do where it's like a special theme, like Winter is Coming or the Grand Slam. I feel like those can kind of be like, they could turn those into pay-per-view shows. So, I guess 12 isn't that crazy to think of when I think about all the special Dynamites they do. I feel like that'd probably be about the level we would get of a pay-per-view.
Yeah, I mean, so we were talking about this. Well, we weren't. It was going on Twitter, and my opinion is, if you're going to go 12, it has to be on Max, because I'm not paying $50 per month to watch your, your booking, your average pay-per-views, because they're going to be average pay-per-views if you're doing 12 months. But there's one thing you can do, and it would work if you're only charging, again, the max fee. You spread out your talent. You make sure that your big 4 cards can be your 4 or 5 hour pay-per-views if you want to do that, whatever. But the others should be like 2.5 hours, 3 hours max. 3 hours. We'll say 3, because for AEW that would be. And you don't need everyone on the cards. You don't need the Elite on every card. You don't need Moxley on every card. You don't need, you could spread them out and have they're not on this one, but they'll be on the next one and whatnot, because otherwise you really run the risk of watering down your product. It's kind of what happened to WWE. And it happens. It's amazing how quickly you can burn through your roster when you're doing a pay-per-view a month, unless you stop worrying about those pay-per-views, which WWE has started doing. They've stopped worrying about individual pay-per-views and now only worry about a couple big ones. And that is actually a smarter way to do it, because otherwise, like I said, you're just going to burn through your talent pool. So that's the only thing I could say. People would have to accept that it's not every pay-per-view is going to be the banger we've kind of come to know. You're going to have some not even subpar, just normal ones.
Yeah.
That's just my opinion, at least.
If not 12, I can do 6. I could do 6 or 8 instead of 12.
Yeah. So we'll see. I mean, again, it's going to also depend what their where they're at. If they're not on Max, I can't do it. I cannot be buying and I don't care that means I can't talk to these pay-per-views when we do this. I'm not buying what they'll be giving me every month. But if you put it on Max, I will watch religiously, and I really enjoy using it.
I mean, I have Peacock for the WWE pay-per-views for that reason, basically, because I wouldn't pay $50 to watch Fastlane in a couple of weeks. So
exactly. So that we'll see what they, where we end up. That's all I have for news and notes. That's about it. So I guess we're at the end of the show. So I'm going to say, hey Joe, what do you know? Where you can be found?
Sure. You can find me on the socials at _Asian Joe. In addition to that, usually in my bio of my socials, I have a link to a little side passion project of reviewing random serials. So that link's in the bio. You can click it, read some of the articles I've done. Otherwise, yeah, I'm just here on Wednesday nights with Ryan.
When my computer's not freezing. Let me. So it's happening at the end. All right. Well, you can find me on I run our Twitter, but you find us on all socials at MarkOrderPod. I have my own little side project, hereforhistory.com. It's a history blog. It's on X or Twitter at _hereforhistory. But again, every Wednesday we're here at 10:15. Maybe we'll be doing some more. Buy our goddamn t-shirts. Sign up for our YouTube. Subscribe for our YouTube. That's what you're doing. You don't have a choice anymore. I've taken the choice from you. I have robbed you of your own right to decide. You're going to buy our t-shirts, subscribe to our YouTube. Buy, subscribe, buy, subscribe, buy, subscribe. There are the rules. I'm sorry, I've decided. So at Mark Order Pod at all things, you can then go to our link tree and go to our Pro Wrestling Tee store and our YouTube, and that's where you can go buy, and that's where you can go subscribe. So there you go. I'm going to figure out if I can do the ending on this well. What was that?
So you're saying buy and subscribe then? I gotcha.
Buy and subscribe. All right. And so then we will see you all next week when we have Kate and Ant back, apparently, and they should tell us of their escapades. I'm pretty sure Ant tried to run into the ring at least 3 times.
And I want video of Kate crying.
Me too.
So.
Me too. All right. See you, everyone.
This concludes the Mark Order Podcast. We now return you to your regularly scheduled programming.